Ukraine. In March 2025, Trump announced that the U.S. was pausing all foreign military aid to Ukraine, saying he wanted to review how the aid was being used and push Ukraine toward negotiations with Vladimir Putin's Russia. Politico Plus 1A follow-up report noted that the meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was tense. Trump expressed concerns about U.S. stockpiles and argued Ukraine must show stronger commitment to peace talks. TIME context. This marked a significant shift from earlier full U.S. support for Ukraine, raising concern among allies that the U.S. might be reducing its backing at a key moment. Implications and points of interest. The aid freeze was framed as leverage to get Ukraine to engage in negotiations rather than an outright abandonment. It signals a tougher, transactional approach, aid contingent on behavior rather than long-term unconditional support. For Ukraine and its allies, it raised questions about reliability and continuity of U.S. support. Some analysts say such a pause could embolden Russia or undermine Ukraine's position in the war. Colombia. On the 19th of October, 2025, Trump posted on his social media platform, Truth Social, that Colombia's President Gustavo Petro was an illegal drug leader who's strongly encouraging the massive production of drugs in big and small fields all over Colombia. He wrote, "As of today, these payments, or any other form of payment, or subsidies, will no longer be made to Colombia." PBS Plus 2, CBS News Plus 2, he added that U.S. subsidies to Colombia have been nothing more than a long-term rip-off of America. The Washington Post Plus 1 earlier, the U.S. had designated Colombia as failing to cooperate fully in the drug war, a rare rebuke of a longtime ally. Al Jazeera Plus 1. Why this is significant. Colombia has historically been one of the U.S.'s closest Latin American partners in counter-narcotics and regional security, so the turn in tone is major. The public naming of Petro as a drug leader is unusually stark in diplomatic terms and signals a shift from cooperation to confrontation. The aid as subsidy cut directly affects programs for development, anti-drugs, and security that rely on U.S. support. For example, a previous freeze on USAID funding for environmental and social programs in Colombia had already impacted anti-narcotics and peace deal implementation efforts. Reuters Plus 2. Implications and points of interest. This could weaken Colombia's capacity to combat drug trafficking and insurgent groups if U.S. support is withdrawn. Analysts flagged a risk that reducing aid may destabilize regional security. The Washington Post Plus 1, the move may reflect Trump's broader America First approach, emphasizing U.S. interests, reducing subsidies, demanding more visible outcomes from partners. That it may also shift diplomatic alignment in Latin America. If Colombia feels abandoned by the U.S., it might seek other partners or change its posture for U.S. foreign policy. This raises questions about how reliable the U.S. will be as a partner to allied countries, especially when domestic politics push for reevaluation of aid. Summary. In short, Trump paused delayed aid to Ukraine, visibly tying U.S. assistance to behavior and negotiation rather than unconditional support. He halted U.S. payments as subsidies to Colombia, publicly accusing its president of enabling massive drug production and signaling a break in the traditional U.S. Colombia partnership. If you like, I can pull up the full text of his post statements and the reactions from Ukraine and Colombia and U.S. allies to give more depth.